In my last video, I talked about survival mode and the four protection responses of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And today I want to talk to you about the cost, what it costs to be in survival mode too long. Now, remember that fear is a protective response to keep us safe, but our brains don't know the difference between a physical threat and an imaginary threat. So, since fear is not free, what is it costing us? I spent over 23 years as a pediatric occupational therapist working with children and helping them to regulate their nervous system. But what I realized over time was that these patterns, these fear patterns, they don't disappear into adulthood. They just show up differently. So let's get into fight, the first fear response. And fight doesn't have to always look like physical fighting, it could look like trying to be in control. After I had kids, I felt this intense pressure to do everything and to do everything perfectly, from taking care of the house, taking care of the kids. I remember asking the kids to help me, only to redo it, because in the back of my mind, I wanted to be the best mom. On the surface, I felt responsible, but underneath it all, it was just me trying to be perfect, which meant I felt like I wasn't enough. The cost was subtle and it happened over time. I didn't even realize what I was doing. That as I was trying to make the house perfect, I was missing out on spending time with my kids. Fight energy convinces you that control equals safety. If you notice the fight energy coming up through control, and ask yourself, is this something that matters right now? Or is it something that can wait? Remember that perfection is an illusion. There is no such thing as perfection. Trying to be perfect is like chasing a rainbow. If fight is about control, then flight is about escaping into busyness. After I retired from my full time job, I wanted to be a YouTuber. I watched so many creators and realized that they were creating so much value for people. And since I retired, I wanted to do that too. As I was starting, I realized how scared I was and nervous I was about it. So I signed up for coaching classes and training classes to teach me how to be a YouTuber. Over time, I was realizing I was chasing the shiny object syndrome, thinking that it was going to be easier when ultimately it just made me even more confused because ultimately I just needed to do it. And every coach that I had along the way, they all said the same thing: record, post, repeat. And knowledge is nothing without taking action. And every time I told myself that I was going to record in that day, I felt physically sick. I kept saying that I wasn't ready, that I had imposter syndrome, that I wasn't good enough. And ultimately, so much time went by while I was busy doing all the training classes, but at the same time, I wasn't doing the scary part, which was recording myself. On the surface, I looked like I was so productive and getting so much done. But in reality, I was just running away from the thing that I was truly afraid of, which was being judged. And it was something that I had to overcome through repetition. A reset for that is to choose one thing, one scary thing, and push through that scary thing and watch your momentum build over time. Sometimes fear slows you down so much that you feel like you're stuck. Freeze can look like procrastination, especially when it's combined with decision fatigue, especially while you're learning something new. When I decided to be in control of my financial future, that's where that fear snuck in. I picked up books and learned about it, but it was the information needed to be applied. And one of the things I needed to do was to call a financial advisor. And I remember feeling so intimidated because they would talk so fast and they had all this jargon that I didn't understand. And I caught myself avoiding it because I was afraid. I was afraid that I was going to do something that I didn't understand and I was going to make a costly mistake. The costly mistake happened when I didn't do anything. Time keeps moving even when you don't, and the cost of freeze is doing nothing. And the last one is the one that goes under the radar, undetected, and it happens over a long period of time. There was a point in my marriage where I felt my identity slowly eroding over time. I felt like no one would notice if I left. My job was to do what everybody needed and to keep everybody happy, even when I wasn't happy. And that was my wake up call when I realized that I was losing my sense of self and self trust. I realized that much later in life that it's called being a people pleaser. And also, most recently, I realized it's called fawning. And that's when there's no boundaries You just walk into a room and you just look at what everybody needs and you just attend to everyone else. You put everyone else first and you put yourself last. And when you do that, this is a tough thing to learn, but when you put everybody else first and you put yourself last, people learn to treat you that way. And it happens in all relationships. It happens at work and it happens in close relationships because you learn to tolerate it. You learn to believe that that's all you deserve, that you deserve to be last. Now, it didn't happen overnight, but I was allowing this to happen over many years. It was built into my subconscious over the course of my lifetime, and it's generational too. We learn it from our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, and we just think that that's how we're supposed to be until we realize that it's unhealthy. If you catch yourself doing this, pause and say, let me think about it. And ask yourself, is this something I really want to do? Or is it to make somebody happy? And don't be surprised if there's resistance at first because people know when there's a change in the pattern and they're going to notice. But this is where self trust begins. The hidden cost of fawning is a slow erosion of your self esteem and your self trust. When you reclaim your self trust, you can make better informed decisions. The hidden cost of fear is very subtle, it's not loud, and it creeps up on you over time. And before you know it, you've lost valuable time. Avoiding doing something outside your comfort zone, chasing after perfection while choosing to be in control over your happiness, being afraid of making mistakes, and tolerating what you don't like just to keep everyone happy. Those choices feel safe in the moment, but over time, they can have an impact on your relationships, your career, and your financial future. Understanding survival mode is the first step. Understanding the cost of fear is the second step. The next step is rebuilding self trust. If you haven't watched my video yet on survival mode, start here. Here. And this week, notice one of the protection patterns that you resort to when you're in a state of survival mode. Awareness is the beginning of change. The next step is doing the work to allow the change to happen. See you in my next video. Bye for now.